I'm Jessica.
I'm Emmalynn.
And in today's video, we are going to be going through what we read for the month of March. My reading month did not start out so hot, but it ended well, and that's what matters. So first, I started off this month with a DNF. And let's just say this was disappointing for multiple reasons, one of which being I bought this book. So that's the main thing. But this is The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. I had a digital arc of this and I should have just stopped there, but I was overzealous and excited about the cover, which is printed on kind of like Emily Wilde, and so I went out and bought it. And Reagan loved this book, so I was like, then surely I will too, but I did not. So this book is kind of marketed as a Sherlock Holmes and Watson set in like steampunk setting, and there's Leviathan and like other kind of mythical creatures, but the main premise of this book is there's an important man, I think he's like a military type leader, and he's found dead in these people's house, and there's like a plant growing out of his chest, and so there's a lot of like botany type things going on in this book. And so anyways, they're trying to solve the mystery of who is releasing this like organism out into the world that can cause a plant to sprout from someone's chest, and they're kind of using it as a weapon. But the reason I didn't like this book, the setting was interesting, the world was interesting, the main characters I just didn't like, and the thing that kept giving me an ick about this book mainly was the main female character, who is the Sherlock of the two. So the Watson is the guy, he's like her apprentice. She just had like the most filthy mouth, and I felt like it was so unnecessary. She was just always dropping F-bombs, and I don't know. I just really found her to be unlikable, and I couldn't get past that to keep reading this. And I really tried. I read like over 180 pages of this book, and I was just like, and for what? Like, I'm just not vibing with this, so why am I forcing myself to read it? So there we are.
Good reminder.
Yeah. Don't read books you don't like.
My first book was Tell Me Three Things. It's like a wannabe You've Got Mail. They don't, well, the guy knows who the girl is. The girl doesn't know who the guy is. He messages her like when she gets to this new school, and he's like, I'm gonna help you out. Her mom died, of course, right? And so her dad like quickly got married to this rich lady, and they moved out of, I can't remember where they lived, but now they live in like California, and she is so upset that she has to go for this very nice private school with all these people that she doesn't know, and he's just like, I'll help you out. And so this whole book, you're waiting for her to like find out who he is, and it's like literally the last page, and then it just ends. I was like, we don't even get to see them like interact together at all. Like she's just like, oh, it's you. Good. And that's it. There's not even an epilogue.
Interesting.
Whatever. 2.5 stars.
Okay, so the next book I picked up was probably not the best book to pick up after DNFing something, but I persevered, and I was gonna say pushed through. But that is Happiness Falls by Angie Kim, and this book is really quite something because it's a little bit of everything. So it's kind of literary fiction, it's kind of mystery, it's got like there's a lot of family dynamics that are worked through, but the main premise of this is the father of this family goes missing, and when they realize that he's missing, they don't immediately report him because they kind of just like justify all of the reasons that he could be gone. But the thing that makes his disappearance so mysterious and unlike him is that in this family there is the youngest son named Eugene, and he has autism, and the dad is kind of the caregiver for Eugene. The mom is a doctor of some sort. And so the dad had taken Eugene to this park that day, and then Eugene just like shows back up at the house by himself without the dad, and he has blood on his clothes. And so the daughter, who is like, I think she's in her early 20s, she's a college student, she sees the blood on his clothes, and instead of being like, oh, what's going on, she's afraid that Eugene had like done something to the dad, and so she washes his clothes to like hide any evidence, and then it kind of starts like a downward spiral of that. Like, she's this whole time like analyzing, was Eugene involved in our dad's disappearance? So there's that they're dealing with. There's the Eugene's like disability that they're dealing with. The mom is now dealing with the fact that her husband is missing, and then they start like finding out some secrets about the dad that like makes them think they know where he might be. It's just, there's a lot going on, a lot to keep up with. There's like a lot of scientific talk in this book because most of the people in this family are like researchers or like analytical in that way. It was interesting. It was a little hard to get through because there was just so much going on. So I would say this was probably a 3-star read for me. But I would read something else by her, and I do want to read her other book.
Okay, so my next book was a book we read for our St. Patrick's Day themed reading vlog. I read Love and Luck by Jenna Evans Welch. Didn't like it at all. Seems to be kind of a theme, like if you really love Love and Gelato. Not a lot of people love this one. I feel like it's poorly marketed also. It says like on Goodreads romance. It's not a romance at all. This basically just follows a brother and a sister arguing, going on a trip, hiding their location from their parents because they were supposed to be somewhere else. They're just arguing the whole time. Our book starts with her like pushing her brother off a cliff. It's not a mystery. It's not a thriller. This is supposed to be like a young adult romance, and there's like a guy going along with them on a road trip. The plot is let's go to A to B to C and not get caught, and that's it. And I didn't like it at all. I thought everyone was unlikable except for the so-called guy that was a part of the romance, which is just like, really? I think they were just friends. I think they didn't understand that. I guess, sorry.
So
I guess,
what would you
like,
give it? What would you give it?
2 stars.
Okay. That's fair. Next book I read was My Lucky Charm, which is by Courtney Walsh, My Ride or Die. And this is her Holidays with Heart series. So this follows one of the sisters from her previous book in the series, My Phony Valentine, and this is following Eloise. And Eloise is kind of like, she's the youngest sister of the 3. She's kind of like the one that wears her heart on her sleeve and like is very vulnerable, and it kind of gets herself into some predicaments. But she gets asked to be the personal assistant for a guy on the hockey team that her brother or her sister's boyfriend is on. And he's like very grumpy, like probably the most grumpy of a grumpy sunshine trope I've ever read. And she can't understand like why he's just so angry all the time and why he's so like abrasive. And he knows that about himself and that he is that way and that that's how people perceive him. And he doesn't want to be that way, but he doesn't know how to change it about himself. So she's just like this whole book really trying to like show him that He doesn't have to take himself so seriously. That everything isn't about just like working and being the best, that he needs to like enjoy life. And it was just adorable. Like as expected. Every book I've ever read by Courtney Walsh, I loved. I loved this one. It was a 4.75 for me. Wow. Not quite 5 stars, but it was very good. There was nothing I would change about it.
Okay, this video, I didn't realize that, like, I didn't like anything I read this month. Yeah. But I'm realizing that I didn't like anything I read this month. So this book, this is The Antique Hunter's Guide to Murder. I have very high expectations for this. This is, like, everything I love. The English countryside, antique things, vintage things, murder mystery. I was hoping it would resemble, like, an Agatha Christie novel. And we follow Freya, who just found out that her mentor died. He was an antique dealer. So was she. She quit about 20 years ago. Had a family. Blah, blah. Now she's divorced. And she goes back home for the funeral. Stays in town with her aunt. And they start figuring out, like, all these clues that Arthur, the guy who died, had left for them. Basically saying that he knew he was going to be killed. And so then they try to, like, solve who did it. They go to this manor, and there's, like, all these antiques there that people are trying to, like, forge or steal. And it was just, honestly, very underwhelming. I wasn't vibing with it, and I feel like nothing happened until it was almost over, and then I was like, oh, we're done.
Fair.
Okay. The only thing that got me going, like, kept me going, was that it's multiple POV. That's it. So probably 2.5 stars.
Oh no.
Like, I appreciate the concept, but it felt like a literary fiction that didn't know it was a literary fiction. It was like trying to build suspense. And if it would have just recognized that that's not what it was, it would have been a little better.
Fair.
I just wasn't, like, nervous, you know?
Okay, the next book I read was Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. Okay, let me just tell you what this book is about, and then I'll dive into my thoughts very quickly. So this is following a girl named Tress. She lives on this remote, tiny little island. She lives a very simple life, and she is perfectly content with her life spent on this island collecting cups. And then
what an icon.
Yes.
I do that too.
And then one day, her friend Charlie, who's like her best friend, he's actually from like a very wealthy kind of prestigious family on this island. I think his dad might even be like, I can't remember, he's not king, but like the ruler of this island. And they go on this trip to get Charlie like a bride, and then the dad comes back without Charlie, and this other boy who he's pretending to be Charlie. He's like, oh, this is my son Charlie. And she's like, no, it's not. Where's Charlie? And so she's like, I'm gonna go find him. Like, it's up to me to go find him. So she like stows away on this ship, and the whole book is literally, I'll say 90% of the book is spent on this ship, which is why it just like drudged along for me, because there was no change in scenery or setting. It's like, can we just get off of this boat? But she lives in this world where spores are very dangerous, and like the sea is made of spores, so you can't, if it's kind of a complicated world. It's interesting but complicated. But I feel bad saying this because this was like a ton of people's favorite book of the year last year, and I just didn't love it. I loved it at the beginning. The ending was good, but the middle just fell flat for me. I would say this is like a 3.5 stars.
So sad.
So sad.
He's just not a cozy guy.
And honestly, there's a talking rat, and I was like, oh, I can't read a book about a rat because I have this thing about rats. And that ended up being okay. The rat became endearing to me. I got past the fact that he was a rat, but it's still just, you know.
It's still a rat.
Yeah. Yeah. And the book just was, maybe you should read it and tell me what you think. I don't know.
Anyway. You're not convincing me. Okay, my next book was To Kill a Mockingbird. I read this for school. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually going to give this like a 4-star.
Oh, really?
I actually really liked it. I listened to the audiobook pretty much the whole way through. Yeah, starting at page 36, chapter 4. I switched to an audiobook. And I felt like that made me retain it way better. It felt like, I don't know, almost like a news story. Like you were telling me what's happening in these people's lives. I wish it would have been almost longer because I don't know. I wanted it to feel more resolved for me personally, because I was actually invested in the characters. I thought they were all endearing. I don't know. I really liked it. There's apparently a second one, but everyone says that Harper Lee actually wrote that first and it got rejected, and then he made this novel instead. And then when this one was successful, he went and published that one. And so, like,
Harper's
nobody likes
girl?
it.
I mean, a boy?
I don't know.
I think it's a girl. It's a she.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I just pictured, I don't know.
An older man or something?
Yeah, the cover is just, it just gave boy vibes. It's just blah.
That's fair.
But, yeah, I don't know. I liked it. I related to the redneckness of the family and the characters.
Okay, and then we went on a journey together. And read Shatter Me.
Which we're not going to talk too much about.
Yeah, we're working on a reading vlog, reading this one, the novella, and the second book. So we're not going to get into that. But let me just say I don't understand the hype. And I'll leave it at that. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Same with the novella. Like, the novella I actually enjoyed more because I just found it more interesting. It's from Aaron's perspective. Not that I like Aaron really, but his character is more complex. So it was more interesting to be in his head than Juliet's, who's just, like, sad every day. Which, like, I get it. You had a hard life, but, like, people are trying to help you. You don't have to be mean about it.
What would you give this? Do we say? Should we say?
I don't even know. Because it's like, I feel like I can't rate it on the same scale.
On the writing,
like the entertainment,
let's say
10 out of 10.
Enjoyment. What would you give it?
I don't know, because I enjoyed it like a bad reality
enjoyment,
TV
I would
show.
say 3 for me. Yeah. Writing, I would say 2.
Yeah, the writing is so bad. And everyone says I just bought, like, all the This Woman, books that are out. But I know, like, that's like a 10-year difference. So
yeah,
I have no doubts about that. I'm excited, but
the covers are better too.
Yeah.
So then I picked up Dear Henry Love Edith by Becca Kinzer. I got this for my birthday, and I heard that this was giving You've Got Mail vibes, so I was like, say less. So this is following a girl named Edith and a guy named Henry, obviously, and they end up being roommates. And for some reason, they each think the other one is elderly. So Henry thinks Edith is like a widowed elderly woman. She thinks Henry is an elderly man who's never been married. And they work, like she works the night shift, he works during the day, so they never see each other, but they end up like writing each other notes in passing, and then they kind of meet one day, and then, it's like I'm not gonna say, but it was so cute. I loved it. It was a little too long in my opinion, so for that reason I would say it was probably a 4-star. But if you like small town vibes, this is like perfect. I loved it.
Okay, next up we have, I think, like the only book, no, I have one more that I liked this month, and that is The Happy Life of Isadora Bentley. We follow Isadora Bentley on her 30th birthday. She's shopping, looks at a magazine, 31 Ways to Be Happy. She's a researcher, and she's like, well, I'm just going to do this as an experiment. I'm just going to prove this article wrong. And along the way, she meets little friends, an old guy that's like my favorite character ever. Just lots of funny things happen.
He gives that guy from The Holiday. The little
does.
director. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
See, in our last video, you said he gave the guy from Up.
That
so
too.
Just...
But he's more friendly than him.
Yeah.
He's the little
He's
guy
very
from
friendly.
The Holiday. He's so cute.
This is such a good book. Pick it up. It makes you... It's very relatable,
yeah.
I would say.
And it's just very heartwarming and...
It's not just like a silly romance
it has
at all.
It has a lot of good messages. It has, like, substance. It's
just entertaining.
Okay. Then I read this book. Heartless
We
Hunter.
ended on a high note.
Yes. This is my favorite book of the year so far. I loved this book so much. I already went on Pango and bought the other series that she wrote because I need it. And I also need, if you have any recommendations of a Regency fantasy, tell me all of them. Because I was like, nothing is hitting harder than
she
a
already
Regency
read Half
fantasy.
a Soul.
Yes. And that was okay, but this is just, wow. This is so good. So this follows our main character, Rune, and she is a witch.
What's a rune?
And she is kind of like a vigilante witch because she dedicates her whole life to rescuing witches who are in danger of being captured and killed. And so she has like this boat that she works to get these witches aboard and like shipped off in the night because the kingdom that she lives in is very anti-witches, and they just, anytime they suspect you're a witch, they'll just arrest you and kill you. And then we have a witch hunter named Gideon, and Gideon, his whole life is spent trying to find and kill witches. And then she decides, for the sake of her vigilantiness, that she is going to pose as Gideon's suitor. She's going to pretend that Gideon is her suitor. And he decides that he's going to pretend that he's pursuing her because he suspects she's a witch. So it's like they're both pretending. They're trying to, like, you know,
on each other.
Yes. And then stuff happens. Oh, it's just so good. I love it so much.
You need all the covers.
Yes, I know. Okay, so I will say this is, I think, marketed as YA. I can't remember.
I don't know.
I don't
feel
know.
Like Book of the Month mainly only does adult books.
So there is mild language, not bad. And there is one scene that is slightly open door, but it's like you can anticipate it coming in very easily, skip over it. But it's just so good. I need you to read it.
Looky there.
I need you to read it. 10 out of 10. This is like actually a 6-star read for me, so... If you got this from Book of the Month and it's just sitting on your shelves, please go pick it up right now. I beg you, I implore you, you will love it. And that's all for me.
Look at that. My last book is Tana Gentleman by Sarah Adams.
Oh, yes.
I was absolutely determined to finish this book in the month of March because I was like, I have to have something good. And so I read like 80% of it on the 31st. And then yesterday I was like, I literally can't read anything. Like, my eyes cannot handle it. I was like, I just have to watch TV. It's like when you do something really hard and you have to take a break, except I was having a great time. I just stayed up too late. So did I finish it in April or March? Depends who you ask. It was technically...
Depends on what time zone you're in.
It was technically April. If you're on the East Coast, it was 100% April. It's like 4 in the morning. Anyways, this book is on Kindle Unlimited, and basically the premise is Rose is a con woman. She lives with her uncle, found family moment. And he's like, I have a job for you. You're gonna roll up, pretend to be pregnant, ask for some money. And this is a Regency book. And she goes to the wrong house. And she's like, Lord Newberry, give me that cash. You don't remember me? And he's like, no, I don't. And he, like, starts going along with it. And he's like, well, just come with me. I have to go somewhere. So he, like, gets her to get in the carriage with him. And then she's like, okay, let me out. And he's like, no, we're almost to my family's house. And so she has to stay with his family for, like, a week and keep this up because...
And so he's like, you're gonna say you're my fiance.
Yeah. And, like, he acts like he's still Lord Newberry. And it's so funny because she thinks she's, like, constantly outsmarting him, and he's known since the very beginning that obviously he's not who she says he is. Like,
He's
a completely
Lord
different
Newberry.
name.
Yeah.
And it's just very entertaining. She's a very good main character. I think it's funny how, like, all the guys in Sarah Adams' books have sisters.
Mm-hmm.
All of them. Usually 3. We have that in When in Rome, too. There's 3 sisters. In this book, there's 3 sisters. And it's just cute how they all get along. It's so nice. But I just love reading about found family things. And it was a good time.
Can't go wrong. Sarah Adams and Courtney Walsh can do no wrong. Honestly. Like, if you are in a slump, just pick up one of their books and you will be out of it in no time. Guaranteed, or your money back. Not my money, your money. Anyways, that's all the books we have for March. I was going to say April. And I'm excited to see what April holds. And hopefully we'll have a better reading month than we did this month.
Even if it's less books, just let me like them, please.
Yes. And don't read books you don't like. I won't do that.
D and F.
Yes.
I never.
Quicker.
Bye.
Okay, bye.